Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Fail, Assistant Professor, University of Simla Campus Within. This video is recorded for the students of Part 1 who have taken English Literature as their major in the given circumstances of COVID-19 when our physical classes are off. I'm trying to reach you out to this virtual class, to the medium of this virtual class, so that I could make you familiar with the contents of the subject you have taken as major. And onward, I would record these different topics with the help of this Zoom technology, and I would try to share my content, my material with you, and I hope that this would help you a lot to imbibe and to understand the core content of English literature. So in previous classes, we discussed that what literature is and what are the different genres of literature, may it be drama, may it be poetry, may it be novel, may it be short story writing, may it be travel log, or may it be essay writing. So these are different genres of literature. And when we write these different genres, basically there are certain differences, what we call the technicalities, and we discuss those technicalities, and we would also discuss in the forthcoming classes as well. But today's class we have decided to talk on the origin of English literature, because when we talk of English literature, we mean the literature that is produced in English language. Okay, so initially, it was produced in the area of what we call Great Britain, and in Great Britain we would talk about Wales, and we will talk about Scotland, and we will talk about England. That was, and but predominantly the literature that was produced in England, that would fall into the category of English literature. But later on, after the period of colonization, when these European nation and especially the British, they colonized a different part of the world, and also their language got transferred there. And in America, Australia, and other parts, and also the people of that areas also started to contribute to writing in this English literature in English. Then this also got included in the category, but again they are subdivided as an American English literature, Australian English literature, and even so is the Indian English literature, and we have a Pakistani English literature. That's further classifications. Okay. So today we are going to talk about that what is the origin of English literature, where from it started, and what are the different periods of English literature. So we can't be able to understand the actual development of literature until we are familiar with this background, where from this English literature started, and what different ages and period it has come to, so that we can understand it better. So in order to have a just a deep understanding of this topic, okay, we would just go to this area of different ages, and here let me share one document with you. Okay. Okay. So here you can see that this the English literature is not a mere acquisitions of knowledge of literature. Is not what we mean by the study of literature, but this is a pure literature. This is the soul as well as the mind. Okay. Here two things are very important. Okay, we are not going to talk about that what the literature is, what is the soul of literature, because but it is there is a one mind that's going to talk to you through this process, and we understand that exact mind what it intends to say. Okay, if we wish to partake of its benefit, we must pursue it according to the definite plan. Okay? So this helps us that when you want to study literature, you should have a plan, and accordance with that plan, you could study literature scientifically, systematically, and effectively. So how what should be this plan? Here we mean that studying different ages systematically, we could understand that what are the different ages or stages in literature, and we could understand that, and through that we could proceed further. Okay. So this literature, English literature here is was produced in England from the introduction of Old English by the Anglo-Saxons in the 5th century to the present. Okay. Here you see that what is where from this English language is started. Okay, so English language started with the migrations of these tribes, what we call Angles and Saxons and Lewis. Okay, these were the tribes. They migrated from the Germanic part, and they got settled in the present day England. It was the 15th century. Okay, so these Angles and Saxons, these tribes, okay, they migrated, they settled in England, and it was 450 AD in the 5th century. And right from there was the language they were using. It was called Anglo-Saxon, and this Anglo-Saxon language it got and then again there came the people, especially from the northern part, and they started Vikings. Okay, they started to attack them, and they brought their language part, and so the Old English of Anglo-Saxon, after the combinations of this Vikings and other vocabulary, it was that what we call Old English. Okay, and after that in 1066, okay, what happens that the French people from Normandy, what we call Norman French. Why we call them Norman? Because they came from Normandy. Okay, so these French from Norman, they came, they attacked the England, and they become the owner of this land, and they started to rule over. Okay, so the London, England went into the hand of the French from 1066 AD, almost 100, 150 years. Okay, so this is called Anglo-Norman period. Okay, when the Old English that gets mixed up with that French language, then we call it a Middle English. Okay, so Old English was the language of Angles and Saxons, and with the combinations of these Vikings, and then the Middle English is a language which was Old English, means Anglo-Saxon Vikings, plus French influence, these what we call Norman French. Then it become a Middle English, and after this Middle English, it moved further. Then it got developed, just categorized into different dialects. There was Southern dialect and Northern dialect. Then there was a Mid London dialect, especially the Mid London dialect जो लंदन में बोला जा रहा था, that was the dialect of a king and a queen. And the first English poet, what we call Geoffrey Chaucer, who is called father of English poetry, also used this dialect. Okay, so this dialect again went into the hands of Oxford and Cambridge universities. Then it became as a standard dialect. Okay, so this is the history of English language. It started from Anglo-Saxon, then Vikings, then this is called Old English. Then Old English got mixed with the French, then it became a Middle English. Then Middle English further got different dialects. Okay, Southern, Northern, Mid London dialect. Mid London dialect become the standard dialect because of the language of the Queen and the King and the poet and the poets. And Oxford and Cambridge universities, then it become as a, we call them that it becomes standard. And when this becomes a standard, then it's same standard when came into the hand of Shakespeare, then it got a very wonderful change. Okay, and it got highly developed in the hands of Shakespeare, which is very close to modern language, modern English. Okay, then after this is golden period of the Shakespeare age, then language got shifted to into the hand of went into the age of science. Also science contributed a lot towards English language. Okay, and after science, okay, there was King James Bible version. Okay, where they put together the different versions of Bible. So the with the by the order of the king, all priests and all the that experts, they sat together, and they just wrote a one version of Bible, King James Bible version, and especially the language used in that version is it's different and standard, and so it also influenced the English language, and science influenced English language. Okay, then English and European people, they started to colonize the different part of the world. Okay, so the English language got expanded to that areas as well. Okay, so that is just a simple brief just traces our background of the development of English language. Okay, So here, these Anglo-Saxons in the 5th century to the present. This is the first period of English history of identify English literatures. Okay, this Anglo-Saxon we call that's the first period. Okay, the works of those Irish and Scottish authors who are closely identified with English life. Okay, now see here we are in the Anglo-Saxon period of English literature. We find the work from the Irish people who are from Ireland, and we have writers from the Scotland, and then we have our writers from England. Okay, so they are going to contribute in a different languages, but this would fall into the Anglo-Saxon literatures. Okay, this period extends from 450 to 1066. Okay, the years of the Norman French conquest of England. Okay, you know 1066 is the period when the Norman French from Normandy they are coming in and going to attack this England. Okay, till that this period this is called Anglo-Saxon period. The Germanic tribes from the Europe who overran England in the 5th century after the Roman withdrawal brought with them the Old English or Anglo-Saxon language. Okay, so when there is this part of England, okay, it was under the dominance of a Roman Empire, but in the 15th century, when they withdrew, they withdrew from this particular part, then it went into the control of the Germanic tribe, what we call Angles and Saxon. Then they came here, and then the language they brought is called Anglo-Saxon language, which is the basis of the modern English. And how this Anglo-Saxon, with the help of Vikings, led then French, it came to Middle English, and this Middle English, the dialect, and how it came to modern language. Okay, I just in a brief, I explained the origin and development of this language. Okay, if we move forward after then the second phase, okay, we have Anglo-Norman period extends from 1066 to 1355. Okay, this is the second period. Okay, medieval period. Okay, and this period we find that Anglo-Normans. Okay, why we call it Anglo-Normans? Anglo, these are the people who are Anglo-Saxon, and Normans are the French. So this is the combination of both. We call them Anglo-Norman period extend from 1066 to 1350. The Normans were the first to bring the cultures and the practical ideas of a Roman civilization to home of the English people. And these were the people who brought that culture and the practical ideas of a Roman civilizations. Because you know that when the Roman left, it's okay, it went into the hand of the Germanic tribe, but the German tribe were not that much familiar or in close contact with that Romans. But on the contrary, the Roman French who came from Normandy, Norman French, okay, they had a close contact with this Roman civilization. So they brought the culture of that to this area, what we presently call England, England, and that culture started to groom here and also got its influence and its impact in the literatures as well. Okay, and this is a critical time when England had produced her base and her own literature, and the civilizations had already begun to decay. Okay, so that is one way that their civilizations was already on the verge of decline. Okay, and they were not in that conditions to produce such a great literature. But because of that thing, this involvement or this kind of arrival of these British, this French people and the culture they brought. Okay, that was a kind of a thing that was going to give it a kind of sustainability, and it brought a positive change in that as well, and in their language and literature as well. Okay, they brought to England the wealth of a new language and literature. Okay, so French actually brought this kind of a change and a very wonderful change in English literature, and English literature gradually absorbed both. Okay, and language and literature both things got absorbed in that. Okay, besides these great from besides these greater works, the enormous number of fables, satires appeared in this age, copied or translated from the French, like the mythical romances, etc. And this not only the new literature and language came to Indian literature through France, but also these satires, these fables. फेबल्स वो कहानियां होती हैं जिसमें किसी जानवर को किरदार बनाकर बनाया जाता है, तो वो चीज़ जो होती है उसको हम फेबल्स कहते हैं। सो फेबल्स एंड सेटायर, सेटायर जो होता है जब हम किसी पे कोई तंज करते हैं, तंजिया जो वो किताब वर्क किया जाता है ताकि वो चीज़ बेहतर हो, इम्प्रूव हो, तो वी कॉल इट सेटायर्स। ओके, ये चीज़ें दी थिंग्स आर कमिंग फ्रॉम फ्रांस and they are coming to England, and with the passage of time they are improving there. Okay, so the age of Chaucer basically then after this. Okay, so first period was Anglo-Saxon period, and then we have this Anglo-Norman period, that is up to 1066 to 1350, and right from 1350 we have a 1400. Okay, this is age of Chaucer extends from 1350. Okay, the age was one of the unusual steer and progress. Okay, Chaucer इनका पहला, इसको हम टू चौसर कहते हैं, जोफ्रे चौसर अंग्रेजी का पहला, हम इसको शायद भी मानते हैं, वी कंसीडर में एज फादर ऑफ इंग्लिश पोइट्री। ये पहला बंदा है जिसने जो है ना अंग्रेजी में, इससे पहले पोइट्री हो रही थी लेकिन जिस लेवल पे इसने पोइट्री की है तो वी कंसीडर हिम, दिस इज गोल्डन पीरियड, दिस इज जस्ट फर्स्ट स्टील एंड प्रोग्रेस। स्टील का मतलब होता है कि जो चीज वहां से तेजी के साथ हरकत करना, मूव करना, बेहतर होना शुरू हो जाए। The five main writers of this age are Legland, Wycliffe, Gower, Mandeville, and above all Chaucer। Okay, इस दौर में आपको पांच बड़े राइटर्स मिलते हैं। लैंगलैंड बड़ा जबरदस्त राइटर गुजरा और ये लेटिन लैंग्वेज में लिखा करता था। एंड वाइक्लिफ, ओके, वाइक्लिफ वाज अनदर वेरी गुड राइटर। ओके, और ये वाइक्लिफ था जिसने बाइबल को इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेशन करने की कोशिश की थी, जिस पे उसको भारी कीमत अदा करनी पड़ी थी, बट ही वाज अ वेरी गुड राइटर। गोवर वाज देयर, मंडेवाइल, ओके, सर थॉमस मंडेवाइल, ओके, जो इस तरह के टेल्स वगैरह, जो ट्रेवल लॉग्स लिखता था, और वो कहानियां मजाया भी होती थी। और मैं कहीं घूमने गया, मैंने वो बड़ा जो है ना वो शतुर्मुर्ग देखा, और उस तरह के गाने, नाटक जो अटैक द पीपल। ओके, एंड देन अबव ऑल द मेन राइटर ऑफ दिस एज इज चॉसर। ओके, सो ये जो पीरियड है इसमें आपको शुरुआती लिटरेचर जो फ्रेंच से आया है उसके असरात जो है ना साथ जो है इसमें शामिल होना शुरू हो गए अंग्रेजी लिटरेचर के अंदर। द फोर्थ पीरियड इज द रिवाइवल ऑफ लर्निंग एक्सटेंडेड फ्रॉम 14 to 50, and it denotes in its broadest sense the gradual enlightenment of the human mind after the darkness of the Middle Age। Okay, अब हम जिस एज में जा रहे हैं 1400 से 1500, ये जो सदी है, ये वो सदी है जिसमें यू आर फाइंडिंग ए चेंज, और आपको एक पॉजिटिविटी नजर आ रही है। एंड व्हाट वी कॉल ए डार्क एजेस का वो जमाना था जब अंग्रेज अंधेरे में था, और तो वहां पे कंप्लीट चर्च नीति का दौरान था। चर्च जो उनको कहता था वो करते थे, और लोगों के पास जो है ना वो इल्म की तरफ वो एक्सेस नहीं था, और इनको उनकी तहजीब कोई इतनी आला लेवल की नहीं थी, बल एक जो है ना अंधेरे की दुनिया जिसे हम कहते हैं, कि तकरीबन ये 450 से लेकर तकरीबन 1300-1400 तक ये जो पीरियड है, ये 7-8 सदी का जो पीरियड है, 8-10 सदी का जो पीरियड है, तकरीबन 1000 सदी तक चला जाता है। ये अंधेरे का पीरियड है, गुमनामी का पीरियड है, जिसमें अंग्रेजों के पास कोई इतना शौक, कोई इतना इल्म, कोई इतना फैम, कोई इदराक नहीं था, और चर्च इनके ऊपर डोमिनेंट था, और ये उसके शिकंजे में फंसे हुए थे। अब ये आस्ता आस्ता अंग्रेज जो है ना वो शौर की तरफ जा रहे हैं। और याद रखिएगा ये वो पीरियड है जब मुसलमान और दूसरी कौमें बड़ी उरूज पे थी, उसके बाद वो कौमी जवाल पे चली गई, और इसके बाद जो अंग्रेज उठा है वो अभी तक जो है दुनिया पे हुक्मरानी कर रहा है, उसको कंट्रोल किया। So the fourth period of the revival is that, okay, 1510, and it denotes in its broader sense. Okay, so this is the period when they are coming from the darkness of the Middle Ages. ये मिडिल एजेस का पीरियड हम ये कहते हैं, ये जो 1300-400 एडी से लेकर 1300-1400 साल तक ये जो पीरियड है, इसको हम कहते हैं मिडिल एजेस पीरियड। द नेम द रेनेसांस। उसके बाद क्या एक मूवमेंट आई जिसको हम रेनेसांस की मूवमेंट कह रहे हैं, और ये वो तहरीक है जिसको निशात सानिया कहा जाता है। यहाँ से अंग्रेज के अंदर इल्म की शुरुआत हो रही है और अंग्रेज तरक्की कर रहा है। इसका रेनेसांस, रेनेसांस का मतलब है कि रिवाइवल ऑफ नॉलेज, हो इल्म का दोबारा पैदा होना, रीबर्थ ऑफ नॉलेज, इल्म का दोबारा पैदा होना, रिवाइवल होना। Why do we call it revival and rebirth of knowledge? Okay, ये वो पीरियड है जब अंग्रेज दूसरी दुनिया के इल्म, मुल्क के इल्म को इकट्ठा करके अपने पास ले आ रहा है, उसको तर्जमा कर रहा है, और अपने लोगों को जो है पढ़ने का मौका दे रहा है। इसके बाद जैसे अनदर मूवमेंट बात भी करें ह्यूमैनिज्म। ओके, अच्छा, ह्यूमैनिज्म का मतलब क्या है? इस वर्ड ह्यूमैनिज्म को अक्सर लोग ह्यूमैनिटेरियनिज्म के साथ मिसअंडरस्टैंड करते हैं। सो दिस ह्यूमैनिज्म डजंट मीन ह्यूमैनिटेरियनिज्म। ह्यूमैनिटेरियनिज्म से मुराद है इंसानियत की बुनियाद या ग्राउंड के ऊपर। ह्यूमैनिज्म का मतलब ये है कि जो ना मीन्स, इसका मतलब ये है कि इससे पहले जो लिटरेचर के अंदर, अदब के अंदर जो बातें होती थी वो देव की और परियों की और बहुत सी चीज़ों की, कभी जो है ना वो आसमान की, लेकिन कभी भी इंसान का जिक्र नहीं हुआ था। तो ह्यूमनिज्म एक तहरीक चली, इसका बुनियादी कहना यह था कि हमने बाकी चीज़ों पे बहुत बात करी, हमने जो है ना वो जिन पे बात की, परियों पे बातें की, हमने देव पे बातें की, हमने फेरी टेल्स पे बातें की, हमने हर चीज़ पे बातें की, लेकिन अगर हमने बात नहीं की तो इंसान पे नहीं बात की, ह्यूमन हमारा जो है वो फोकस नहीं रहा। तो अब आओ ह्यूमन पे बात करते हैं। सो दिस इज अ बेसिक डिफरेंस आपको मिल रहा होगा कि that we are going to talk about human, okay? Human which remained ignored for a large period, okay? जो काफी अरसे तक ignored रहा था हमारे पास, we are going to talk about that period, okay? So we are moving towards this humanism as a kind of what we call focus. Okay, so this humanism are often applied to the same movements. Okay, the term Renaissance is used to denote the whole transition from Middle Ages to the modern world, and more correctly applied to the revival of the resulting from the discovery of imitations of a classical model in the 14th and the 15th centuries. Okay, and now what we started. Okay, that we started that the literature what we simply use, we were copying to the classics and important work of the past. Okay, in the light of that imitation होता है कॉपी करना, नकल करना, उन्हीं किताब की इमिटेट करके जो लिखा जा रहा था उसी से हम आगे निकल गए। हम जिस पीरियड में दाखिल हो रहे थे, अब एक नया लिटरेचर प्रोड्यूस होना शुरू हो रहा था, और वो लिटरेचर जो नया लिटरेचर खुद ब खुद जो अभी जन्म ले रहा था, that is called the Elizabethan period. Okay, and this is a golden period of English literature, what we call it. So ranging Elizabethan age ranging from 1550 to 1620. The main characteristics of this age was the comparative religious tolerance. Okay. Number one thing is that this period, from religious point of view, that is where we find a tolerance. Okay, because the Catholic Church that was very dominant. Okay, in this Europe. Okay, and there was a movement what we call Puritan movement or Protestant. This Protestant new church was introduced by King Henry VIII. किंग हेनरी एट जो एलिजाबेथन क्वीन के फादर थे, उसने जो कैथोलिक चर्च था उससे हटकर एक नए चर्च की बुनियाद रखी, व्हाट वी कॉल क्वीन एलिजाबेथ, दैट वी कॉल प्रोटेस्टेंट। तो इससे ये एक हुआ कि वो जो मजहबी तौर पे जो शिद्दत पसंद थी उसमें थोड़ा कंपेरेटिवली एक टॉलरेंस आई, और जो प्रोटेस्टेंट पीपल थे दे वर नॉट दैट मच गिवन टू द रूल्स, और दे वर नॉट दैट मच एक्सट्रीमिस्ट as these Catholic Church was in its content and the practice. Okay, so there was a kind of a liberty and a freedom. The age of Elizabeth was the time of intellectual liberty. Okay, see, this is very much important thing, that we have intellectual liberty. When we talk about this intellectual liberty, that you find that this is a golden period of English literature, especially for England, and we call it that this is the period when Shakespeare and other important writer they are going to contribute in this English language. And the most interesting and wonderful or profound literature is going to be produced in this age. And this religious tolerance, intellectual liberty, of growing intelligence and comfort among all classes. Okay, of unbounded patriotism and of peace at home and abroad. Okay, these are the qualities they are going to contribute towards this Elizabethan period. This is why we call it that this is a golden period of English literature. There's intellectual liberty, there's a religious tolerance, there's unbounded patriotism, and there's that comfort among classes. Okay, there's not much clashes among the classes. So these things are going to support them. Okay, then we enter into the age of Edmund Spencer. Okay, this period. Okay, Edmund Spencer, Thomas Eckfile, Philip Sidney, and George Emerson, and Michel Dalton, Christopher Marlowe, William Shakespeare, Bill Jensen, and that Beaumont and Fletcher's and Thomas Dekkers are the minor or major writers of this Elizabethan period. This period is called the Golden Period, and these are the important period of this Elizabethan period, and this also is known as the Shakespearean period. Okay. William Shakespeare, baptized by April 26 April 1564 and died on 23 April 1660, was an English poet and playwright, widely regarded as the greatest writers in this English language and the world's preeminent dramatist. Okay, ये इसी दौर में पैदा शेक्सपियर हो रहा है, और ये लैंग्वेज का और ड्रामे की दुनिया का एक बहुत बड़ा राइटर जो है ना वो कंसिडर किया जाता है. His works consist about 38 plays. Okay, he wrote more than 38 plays, sonnets, and two long narrative poems, and several other poems. Okay, his plays have been translated into very major living languages and are performed more often than those of any other playwrights. Okay, so Shakespeare's look that he has got translated into major living languages, and in every language his work is being translated. Okay, So, and the Puritan age extends from after this Shakespearean age, okay, we come to the age of Puritan and Puritan age, okay. But before going Puritan, I will just give you one kind of comment on this Shakespeare, okay. Why do we call the Shakespeare as a prominent dramatist? Because he is the man who contributed a lot because the topic he took, okay, they were the means he chose the topic from the daily course of affairs of human life, okay. He actually is the writer of human life. He's the writer of human psychology. He's the writer of human mind, okay. Whatever the things we feel or face and undergo in the course of human life, Shakespeare is going to put these all things in the dramas, in his dramas, okay. He has produced masterpiece, okay. How we become outrageous and we go out of a control, okay. So that a thriller is the characters to teach us, okay, that loving doesn't mean to love very much is not as the actual love, but loving well is actual love. And there's a Hamlet, okay, how the man falls subject to this procrastination, indecisiveness, uncertainty, dilemmas. Then there's a courageousness, okay, proud, okay, to be of proud, being a proud of achievements, okay, how you become that much egoistic. And there's in Lear and other wonderful tragedies which are going to contribute in these areas. Okay, so these are the beautiful part of this system, and they are very much unique. Okay, so well, through this period, okay, we are just simply moving to this Shakespeare. Okay, then there's the age what we call the Puritan age. Okay, this Puritan age basically is the age of when it is extends from 1620 to 60. Okay, the Puritan movements may be regarded There's some problem with the videos. Okay, hope if the audio will go, then we will move forward. Okay, so the Puritan movement may be regarded as a second and a greater sense and a rebirth of knowledge. Okay, after this second and greater renaissance are rebirths of the moral natures of man following the intellectual awakening of Europe in the 15th and the 16th centuries. Okay, Samuel Daniel and these other writers, they are the main part of that thing. Okay, so restoration period ranges from 1660 to 17. Next comes 18th century literature, which extends from 16 to 17. The major writers of this are Pope and Swift, Daniel and Defoe. The age of Romanticism extended roughly by 17 to 18, 1780 to 1850. The most famous poet of this is William Wordsworth. Okay, and history college, Keats, Shelley, Byron. Okay, these are called romantic. Okay, so romantic writers. Okay, they focused on the that simplicity of a language, and they talked about they took their themes from the common life, and their diction was a bit rustic. मकसद ये आम लोगों को इन्होंने फोकस किया इससे पहले जो राइटर्स थे they were focused on especially these new classes, okay, जिसमें ड्राइडन था, अलेक्जेंडर पोप था, डॉक्टर जॉनसन थे. They were highly focused on their writer, means they took the rules as their guiding principle, and for them the classical writers from Greek or Roman, they were their mentors or masters, and they took them as their ideals, and they tried to copy them, and for them rule was everything. So the classic न्यू क्लासिस्ट के पास रूल सब कुछ था, और रोमांटिक जो थे वो रूल्स को फॉलो नहीं करते थे. क्लासिस्ट जो थे वो आइडियाज को ज्यादा प्रेफर करते थे. रोमांटिक्स जो थे वो फीलिंग्स को ज्यादा प्रेफर करते थे. क्लासिस्ट जो थे वो कहते थे कि इमेजिनेशन को एक्सेसिवली इस्तेमाल ना करो. रोमांटिस्ट जो थे वो कहते थे कि इमेजिनेशन को एक्सेसिवली इस्तेमाल करके नई चीजें जो है वो बनाओ. जो क्लासिस्ट थे वो एक्सपीरियंस की बात करते थे, जो रोमांटिक थे वो एक्सपेरिमेंट की बात करते थे. जो क्लासिस्ट थे वो जो है वो न्यूक्लियसिस जो थे वो स्टेटस को की बात करते थे. जो रोमांटिक थे वो इनकलाब रेवोल्यूशन की बात करते थे. जो न्यूक्लियसिस थे वो कहते थे कि चीजें जैसी हैं इसके चलने दो, और जो रोमांटिक थे वो कहते थे कि चीजें जो है ना उनको उनमें नया चेंज लाओ. So that is where the romantic and classicist, okay, these two schools thought means went. They are just opposite to each other in their theories and their practices. Okay, but once we come out of this thing, okay, after this romantic comes, okay, the Victorian era, okay, Victorian period, okay. Why do we call it the Victorian period? Because this is the age of Queen Victoria. So this age forms the links and transitions between the writers of the romantic period and the next different literatures in the 20th century. तो 19th century saw the novel became the leading from the literature. 19वीं सदी में आपको लिटरेचर के में नावल ज्यादा पढ़ने को मिलेगा. The works by pre-Victorian writers such as Jane Austen and Walter Scott of the show, social satires and the adventure stories. These popular work increased the trends of novel reading almost amongst the public. Okay, तो ये 19वीं सदी में आपको राइटिंग में लिटरेचर में नावल ज्यादा जो है ना वो डोमिनेंस मिलेगा. और उसमें तकरीबन जो जेन एस्टेंस वाल्टर स्कॉट ओके ये उसके फेमस राइटर हैं. सिग्निफिकेंट विक्टोरियन नॉवेलिस्ट इंक्लूड्स ओके मैकडॉनल्ड एंड ब्राउनिंग सिस्टर्स ओके जो ये बहनें थी जो ये लिख रही थी. इसमें आपको जो है ना वो जोसेफ कैनराज मिलेगा. इसी के अंदर आपको चार्ल्स डिकेंस मिलेगा, जॉर्ज एलियट मिलेंगे और रिडाल किपलिंग है, रॉबर्ट लियो स्टीवेंसन है और यू हैव चार्ल्स स्विनबर्न है, यू हैव फिलिप मैरोज है, टेलर अल्फ्रेड लॉर्ड टेनिसन है, विलियम थैकरे, एंथनी ट्रॉलॉप ओके, जॉर्ज मैकडॉनल्ड्स एंड ऑस्कर वाइल्ड. ये वो लोग हैं जो आपको इसके नावल की दुनिया में इंपॉर्टेंस ना मिलेंगे. लास्टली कम्स द मॉडर्न एज जो कि जिस पे अभी हम खड़े हैं. Master age and post-modernism and modernism as a literary movement reached its height in Europe between 19 to the middle of 1920. 1900 से 1920 तक जो मॉडर्निज्म थी वो दौर जो है अपनी हाइट पे पहुंचा. उसके बाद हम पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म की तरफ चले गए. The term postmodernism literature is used to describe the certain characteristics of post-World War literature. और जब हम ये पोस्ट मॉडर्न टर्म यूज करते हैं तो वो मखसूस रियल जो है ना वो खसूसियात हैं जो सेकंड वर्ल्ड वार के लिटरेचर में शामिल हुई. तो उसके बाद हम पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म की तरफ चले गए और इसके दौरान डिफरेंट जो है ना वो मूवमेंट्स से ये लिटरेचर निकलता हुआ. तो एंग्लो सेक्सन का लिटरेचर वहाँ से फिर फ्रेंच के जुमरे में आके आया. फ्रेंच होता हुआ वहाँ से एक नया इनका लिटरेचर जो अपना पैदा हुआ मिडिल इंग्लिश के दौर जो है ना वो शेक्सपियर के हाथों में. और वहाँ से जो होता हुआ फिर ये जो न्यू क्लासिज्म का दौर था जिसमें ये फिर काफी की और मीटिज्म की तरफ चला गया. वहाँ से निकलकर रोमांटिसिज्म के दौर के अंदर लिटरेचर के अंदर जो रोमांटिक आइडियाज और फीलिंग्स और इमोशंस का दौर आया जो विक्टोरियन दौर में दोबारा आकर किसी हद तक बैलेंस हो गया. लेकिन विक्टोरियन मोरालिटी की अपनी क्वालिटीज हुआ करती थी. उससे फिर आगे चल के जब हम 20th सेंचुरी में आए तो ये मॉडर्न मॉडर्न तहरीक की जो ना का इख्तिताम हुआ. लेकिन फिर फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वार और सेकंड वर्ल्ड वार ने एक बहुत ज़्यादा जो यूरोपियन नेशन को जो है ना वो सोचने पे मजबूर किया. उसके बाद जो पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म की तहरीक चली जो आकर यहाँ पे इसी पैर में आकर जो है खत्म हुई. So, इसी situations के अंदर this literature has come to these different process and these different things, okay, and we have to cover these different areas. And I hope so that with the help of this brief learning and understanding, you would be able to just understand different parts of English, ages of English literature, and they will help to develop your understanding of this literature. Thank you very much. See you in the next session. Allah Hafiz.